2. I'm going to use substitution to solve these again. But notice, I don't have either equation where I have a variable by itself. So I'm going to need to choose one of these equations and solve it for a variable by itself. It's always easiest if you choose to solve for a variable that has a coefficient of 1, because then you won't have to work with any fractions. If you would solve for any other variable here, you would have to work with some fractions right off the bat. But since I'm going to solve this equation for x, and it has a coefficient of 1, that means I will not have to work with any fractions. It's just a little piece of advice. You can do it other ways. This is probably the easiest way. So I've got x plus 2y equals 6. I'm going to solve this for x, and I get x equals 6 minus 2y. Or if you wanted to write it negative 2y plus 6, that would work as well. But now I know what x equals. X is the same thing as 6 minus 2y. So I can take my other equation, 3, and instead of writing an x, I'm going to write 6 minus 2y. I'm going to substitute in that value. Minus 4y equals 28. All I did was I took what I knew x was, 6 minus 2y, and replaced it, the x in my second equation, with a 6 minus 2y. And now I'm going to go ahead and solve this equation. First thing I have to do is distribute. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times negative 2y is negative 6y. Minus 4y equals 28. I'm going to combine my like terms. Notice it's negative 6y minus 4y, so I get negative 10y. Don't accidentally do 6y minus 4y. Always remember to look in front of the term to see what the sign is. Then I'm going to subtract 18, and I get negative 10y equals 10. Divide each side by negative 10. And I get y equals negative 1. But again, I'm not done. Because remember, my final answer is this ordered pair, and all I've found yet is the y value. So what I need to do, I need to take this y value, and I'm going to plug it back in to either equation. I'm going to choose to plug it back in where I've already substituted with what I used to substitute. That's a better way of saying it. Because it's already solved for x. So all I have to do is plug in a number for y and simplify. It would be a little more complicated to plug it into one of these first equations. So I've got x equals 6 minus 2 times negative 1. I get x equals 6. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, so I get x equals 6 plus 2, or x equals 8. And my final answer is 8, negative 1. And the way you can always check your answer for these types of problems, just plug your answers in. 8 plus 2 times negative 1, that's 8 minus 2, that's 6. 3 times 8 is 24. Minus 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. 24 plus 4 is 28. If you simply just plug in your x and your y values, these equations should be true. You should get what they say you should get.